Hello, seventh graders, and welcome to 6.2. In chapter 6 here, we're talking about percents, and today with lesson 2, we'll be talking about how to estimate percents. And really, this section I think is really beneficial because it's like the everyday type of estimating with percents that you'll do that really correlates to outside of class. You might be dealing with specific percents someday in your career, but estimating percents is like real world kind of just ballpark ideas that are helpful to know. Today we're going to actually start off with a little bit of a chart here that I think helpful if you don't already know. Some of you might already know this, and some of you might need a little refresher. That's okay. But I'm going to put down some common percents and their equivalent fractions because these are just nice and easy to know, to have available, ready for you. If you look actually by the back left window in the classroom, there's a common fraction and decimal equivalent chart as well that you can reference from time to time. But I think this one is, this would be helpful to have down in your notes as well. So why don't you follow along and put this in your notes. Again, I think you'll find yourself referencing it from time to time. Okay, so here's some common percents with their equivalent fractions. So if I said 10%, that's the same as 1/10, or 1 out of every 10. 20% is 1 out of every 5, or 1/5. 25%, I'm thinking about quarters, because a quarter is 25 cents. So that's 1 quarter out of a total of 4, make $1. 33 1/3% is 1/3, or 1/3. 50% is half, and 66% would be then 2/3. You see the relationship here. If you took this quantity and you doubled it, you'd be to that 66 and 2/3 percent, or 66.33%. All right. So these are very, very common, and we'll use these when we are estimating. So today in a few of our examples, you'll see it, and as well as some of your homework problems and maybe even some test ones in the future. So again, I think writing this chart down will be very beneficial for you. For the first example, it says use a fraction to estimate 27% of 63. All right, again, I'm just estimating here. We're not looking for the exact. And 27% is pretty dang close to 25%. So I'm just going to round that then when I'm trying to figure out what 27% of 63 is. Another helpful little reminder of in math is usually a good hint to multiply. Okay, so this is like saying 27% is about 25%, and 25% is equivalent to, well, we said it was equivalent to 1/4. So to find 27% of 63, I would change this percentage to a fraction. And again, I'm going to round it to 25%. So 1/4 of, remember, means times, and times 63. Well, again, I'm going to round again. So I'm going to change 63 to a compatible number. I'm going to change it to about 60. So I'm going to take 1/4 and I'm going to multiply that by 60. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply the numerators and then you multiply the denominators. 60 is the same as 60 over 1. So that would give me 60. Top times top would give me 60. Bottom times bottom would give me 4. And 60 divided by 4, 4 goes into 6 once. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract 2, bring down my 0. And 4 goes into 20 5 times, which is 20, and I don't have anything left. So when I multiply, I get about 15. 27% of 63 is about 15. Okay. And if you wanted to double check with your calculator to see how close you are, be my guest. Remember, you can write percentages as decimals by moving the decimal 2 spots to the left. So that's the same as 0.27. Remember, of means multiply 63. Okay, we're checking in our calculator here. And if we took 0.27 and we multiplied that by 63, we would come up with 17.01. And yeah, that's relatively close. It's only 2 away from 15, so that makes sense. Again, we're just trying to get a ballpark answer here. Okay, let's try example number 2. A little bit more of a real life example here where we're kind of comparing some things from a store. It says Tara's Tees is offering 2 t-shirts for $16. Tara's Tees is offering 2 t-shirts for $16. While Good Tees is running their buy one for $9.99, get one for half price sale. Which store offers the better deal? Right? So first what we need to do is be able to find the discount on that second store because it says buy one for half price. Buy one for $9.99, get the second one for half price. So what we need to do is we need to find half of $9.99. Well, remember 50% from our table that we made before is equivalent to a half, 1 out of 2. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a half times, and again, estimate your second number. Instead of making this complicated, let's add a cent and round it to 9. So we're thinking that half times 10, when we changed $9.99 to a compatible number, half of 10 would be 5. Okay, so the discount is approximately $5. So the first t-shirt you buy is 10, and the second one is half of that, which is 5. So the 2 t-shirts together would give you a total of $15. The cost of 2 t-shirts at Good Tees is about $15. So Good Tees is about $15, and Tara's Tees is $16 for 2 t-shirts. Which one's the better deal? Well, Good Tees is cheaper. So the t-shirts at Good Tees is a better deal. All right, go ahead and flip to the back side now, where we'll deal with percents in 1 or 10%. Also really helpful to be able to convert these. In example 4, we'll talk about that with a restaurant example. It says use 1% or 10% to estimate the percent of each number. All right, and I want to give you a little bit of a reminder here to write down. So to find 1% of a number, move your decimal point 2 places to the left. Move decimal point, and I'm going to abbreviate, 2 places to the left. Okay, and I'll give you an example. If I were trying to find 1% of, if I had 45 was my number, 1% of 45 would be, I need to move my decimal 2 spots to the left, 0.45. All right, to find opposite of that, let me change colors now. To find 10% of a number, move the decimal point 1 place to the left. So example, I'll keep the number 45. One place would be 4.5. Right? I definitely would write this down if I were you. So 10%, 2 spots to the left, or excuse me, 1 spot to the left. 1% is 2 places to the left. Right? So in example 1, it says use 1% or 10% to estimate the percent of the number. It says 4% of 18. I'm going to use compatible numbers. 18 is about 20, so we rounded 18 to 20. So we're going to find 4% of 20. Well, you can think of 4% as 1% plus 1% plus 1% plus 1%. All right. What is 1% of 20? Well, 20, to find 1%, move my decimal spot 2 to the left. So if 20 is my number, 1, 2, it would be 0.2. So I'd have 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.2, because again, 1% of 20 is 0.2 or 0.2 or 2/10. So 4% of 20 is 4 times 0.2, or that's the same as I did, as I added 0.2 4 times. Okay, 0.2, which would give me 0.2 plus 0.2 is 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, or 0.8. So 4% equals 4 times 1%. So 4% of 18 is about 0.8. Exactly what I found here. All right. Now, if you wanted to be exact and not round 18 to 20, you could, because you could find 1% of 18 by just moving your decimal 2 spots. So it would just be 0.18 plus 0.18 plus point, you kind of catch my drift there. But again, we're just using compatible numbers, so that's why we rounded that up. All right. Similarly, for letter B, again, we're estimating, and it asks us to find 29% of 80. Well, let's use a compatible number, and you can assume that 29% is really close to 30%. So let's just find 30% of 80. We can think of 30% as 10% plus 10% plus 10%. And to find 10% of a number, all we need to do is move the decimal place 1 to the left. So 10% of 80, here's our original decimal, 80.0 is the same as 80. 1 spot to the left would give us 8.0, which is the same as 8. All right, which is really easy, because now 30% of 80 means we have to take, if 10% of 80 is 8, we just have to do that 3 times, because 10% times 3 would give me 30%. So I know that 8 is 10% of 80. Multiplying that by 3 gives me 24. So 30% equals 3 times 10%, same as I explained right here. So 29% of 80 is about 24. Okay. Again, lots of ways that you can use this. Here's that restaurant example. And boy, I'll tell you, when I didn't print this, check it out, but I'll have you maybe just do that on a scratch sheet. Sorry about that. Again, getting back to where I was at, sorry I got off track there, but here's a real life example. I used to work as a server, and man, oh man, was it helpful to know this, because when you're getting tipped at a restaurant, you're hoping for 20% as a worker. And you can really easily find 20% by doing 10% plus 10%. Again, moving your decimal just one spot to the left, right? And it's also nice if you go out to eat and you can quickly calculate what you should tip, okay? It says, Tim spent $58 on dinner for his family. About how much money should he leave for a 15% tip? Okay, they're not giving it 20%. If it's really good service, I'll give 20%. But maybe the service wasn't as good or something along those lines. So we're going to do a 15% tip. Okay. So since 58 is about 60, we're going to round 58 to 60. We're going to find 15% of 60. And we can think of 15% as 10% plus 5%. All right. Again, these two added together. Well, 10% of 60, remember, all we have to do is move our decimal one place to the left, is $6. 10% of 60 is $6. So we can find 5% of 60 by just taking half of that, because 5% is half of 10. So half of 6 then would be 3. So 5% is half of 10%. So divide 6 by 2. Again, and 6 plus 3 will give you $9. Okay, so add the 10% and the 5% estimates from here. That's where they're coming up with their total of 9. So Tim should leave about $9 for a 15% tip. So his total bill then, so $58 for the food plus $9 for the tip, $67 total. Okay, and again, that's pretty reasonable. 15%. Again, I usually was hoping for 20, but that's how the restaurant business or industry kind of works. Really good real life example. Good to calculate right away. All right, like I said before, I forgot to print this page. I'm sorry about that. But if you just want to pause the video now, try these on an extra sheet of paper and then come back to see how you did. All right. First one, use a fraction to estimate 48% of 91. I'm going to round 48% to 50%. Let me get my sketch pad up. And 50% is the same as a half. Of means multiply, and I'm going to round 91 to 90. So that gives me 90 over 2, which 90 divided by 2 would be about 45. Okay. Again, this is saying 50%, which is close to half. Half of 91. Well, half of 90 is 45, so that's really close, about 45. Okay. Number 2, it says Billy's office supply store is offering 25% off of a leather notebook, originally priced at $9.75. Kay's Office Supplies offers the same deal, not on sale, at $7. Which store has the better deal? Okay, so Billy's 25% off a notebook, originally priced. We're going to round that to $10. And 25% off, so that means we're looking for what is 25% of 10. Well, remember, 25% is the same as a quarter. Quarter times 10 over 1 would give us 10 fourths, which would be 2. 4 goes into 10 2 whole times, and there's 2 fourths left over. 2 fourths is the same as a half. If we're talking about money, that would be $2.50. Now, that's $2.50 off of 10, right? So if we subtracted 2, that would give us $8, and another 50 cents, that would give us $7.50. for the one at Billy's. Okay, and that's rounded. Kay's office supply store offers the same notebook not on sale for $7. So I'm going to say Kay's is the better deal. Number 3, use 1% or 10% to estimate the percent of the number. 21% of 60. Okay, I'm going to say 21% is about 20%. And that's the same as 10% plus 10%. So 10% of 60 would be 6, moving that decimal one place to the left. And then 6 plus 6 would give me 12. If I want to double check in my calculator, I'd take 0.21 and I would multiply that by 60, and that gives me 12.6. So I'm really close there. And last one, Amanda spent $12 on a haircut. How much money should she leave for a 15% tip? So again, think of 15% as 10% plus 5%. And if you rounded 12% or $12, to $10, okay, 10% of 10 would be 1, and 5% would be half of that. Well, that would be 0.5, right? So 10% is $1, and 5% then is half of that, which is $1.50. So you'd add that together to get $1.50. So how much should you leave for 15%? About $1.50. And again, you'd have to add that here. You're probably going to want to round up since we rounded down for the cost. So about $2. So your total would be close to, on your haircut, $14, which doesn't seem too far off. All right, there you have it on estimating percents. Again, it's a really good real-life tool to have. And if you have any more questions, please come see me and I'll do my best to help. That's all I have for now. I will see you next time.